on the 80-10-10 diet and how it actually destroyed my physique. But it wasn't the 80-10-10 diet alone. I don't want to say the starch solution, although that was the primary inspiration for me to do this, was Dr. McDougall's work. But I don't want to say the starch solution because I was still taking my CoQ10, I was still taking a number of supplements, and obviously Dr. McDougall frowns on supplements except for B12. But I was taking all my supplements, and I've had to add supplements. So let me get down to this. Okay, so I made a video similar to this one, but I wanted to expand on it. Last, I'd say September, I had to stop being as active as I was because I had to take care of a loved one. And it made my activity level go down, but I was not inactive. And this is the thing I found out about the 80-10-10 diet, at least with me. The 80-10-10 diet is it's phenomenal for doing things if you're doing nothing but exercising. If you're doing nothing but exercising all day, every day, like when I was making my, I was on it for probably about 2 years, but when I was making my gains, as they say, it was because I was waking up, I was doing a weightlifting routine, or a karate routine, and then I was doing calisthenics, then I was doing stretching, and I would go maybe do a second weight routine at night. You know what I mean? So I was exercising spaced out throughout the day, probably about 4 hours a day. Now, when I say I went to inactivity, when I was taking care of this loved one, it was not complete sedentary lifestyle. I was still doing my weightlifting and some stretching and things like that. What happened was I gained fat. I gained a noticeable amount of fat around the midsection, visceral fat. And eventually, I've always had heart palpitations, mostly due to what I think was the results of Seroquel. At about age 25, I was put on Seroquel for about 2 weeks before I stopped it, and it really screwed up my heart and started giving me what they called panic attacks, which later turned out to be tachycardia. Now, the thing is, I did stop that medication, but the side effects never fully went away, and in fact worsened and worsened and worsened. But with the weight gain I had from this 80-10-10 diet, I developed very bad breathing issues, heart palpitations, stuff like that, which turned out to be asthma and tachycardia. When people started taking me serious, I had to go to a pulmonologist and things like that. So what I'm saying is the macronutrient balance of the 80-10-10 diet is fine if you're a triathlete or something like that. But for a normal person, it's not going to do what you need it to do. And I'm not saying that people should be inactive. So I slowly switched my diet back to a 100% plant-based, high-protein diet. And I'm still taking my supplements. And with the 80-10-10 diet, I laid off of my athletic supplements. What do I mean by athletic supplements? I quit taking my branched-chain amino acids. I quit taking my creatine. I quit taking my glutamine. So I cut back a lot on some of the things that are geared toward athleticism. Now, what I want to point out is, years ago, when I was just a regular vegetarian, meaning a lacto-ovo vegetarian, and I was a high-protein diet. It was basically a lacto-ovo-Atkins diet. So it was basically just a vegetarian Atkins diet. I could go for months without exercising, and I did. A lot of the jobs I did were security jobs that required very little activity. And I maintained a very healthy physique, working out maybe once or twice a week at the most, sometimes once or twice a month. And I did that for years. I was fine. So also age. Now that I'm 37, perhaps that's playing a role. So I did have to start factoring in and taking certain things like boron to help with testosterone, to help the body release more testosterone and things like that. But the thing is, the fact that I'm making here is macronutrients are important. They're a lot more important than the vegan community would have you believe. And or even the carnivore community, because the carnivore community downplays the macronutrients big time. But the thing with veganism is to understand is you shouldn't obey this guru or that guru. Now, honestly, the guy I like the most right now, and I think everybody should read his books, and I'm going to leave a link to his videos, is, what's his face? Dr. Furman, Dr. Joel Furman. And Dr. Joel Furman is right in certain ways about macronutrient restriction. However, not really, because in my opinion, you need to move. And that's one of the biggest things, is people don't understand the human body was made to move. And I'm not saying Dr. Furman doesn't say move, but there's too much of this reliance on diet and not enough reliance on exercise. Now the problem is, when you're eating a meat-centered diet or an inflammatory diet, which is what a meat-centered diet is, it's going to make it much harder for you to move in a healthy manner, and it will increase the risk of heart health, issues with heart health. However, the 80-10-10 diet, especially if you're not getting most of it from fiber-rich starches, but if you're getting it from sugars and crap like that, it's probably going to raise your triglycerides. And that's another issue, is you have to take into consideration the human body is not made to consume massive amounts of sugar, or massive amounts of animal protein for that matter. However, plant protein seems to do the body pretty good, and I'm going to leave links to why plant protein does the body good. And I'm also going to leave links to some of the health benefits of some of the supplements I take, and why I'm taking some of them. Most of the reason I had to figure most of these back into my diet was because of the asthma diagnosis. Things like branched chain amino acids, glycine, glutamine, these things are helpful with asthma and other lung issues. And remember, I'm not a doctor, so don't take anything I'm saying as medical advice, because I'm not qualified to give medical advice, or any advice for that matter. Don't even take anything I say as advice. But that's all for this video.